Hello, all. Welcome back to What's On Tonight, a podcast with elaborate, quirky, and unpredictable conversations about TV, movies, and more. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
Joining us in the pod layer today via Zoom is the incredible Charles Baker, whose most recent iconic role is playing the beloved Mr. Digby, the unhoused man currently being seen in the ED on season 2 of The Pitt. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for being with us. This is so exciting.
Thank you, Becky. It's great to be here.
We've been very blessed to get to talk to some really cool people. And I know we are here to talk about The Pitt, but and we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but I just want to tell you how much I loved Skinny Pete in Breaking Bad. And I love the piano. I used to play when I was younger, and it was really cool getting to see you showcase your actual talent, that you were the one doing that in the show. That was pretty cool. So I just wanted to get that in before we dive too far into the rest of the interview.
Thank you very much. It was an honor to be able to do that.
Did you ask to do that, or was that just something that they're like, hey, we know you can do this, so let's do this?
I showed them that I could do it, and then they went, how can we use that? And then figured out a way to use it. So
exciting.
Yeah.
In doing a deep dive into your life, getting ready for this interview, man, you've had such a fascinating life. Like the fact that you were a military kid and that you moved around a lot. It's cool to us how many people acting on The Pitt actually have some type of medical background. And we see that you've worked as a recreational therapist in adolescent psychiatry, and you're a certified CASA advocate. I have several friends who are CASA advocates. You are doing the Lord's work. It's so important, especially now. You went to seminary, and you were one time leaning towards teaching. So the first question is always, how did you get this role in The Pitt? But more specifically to you, with that kind of a background, how did you get into acting at all?
Well, how I got into The Pitt was I've been doing this, for 18 years. So practice, baby, practice. I got into act, I think, because of that background is what makes me an actor. It helps inform what I do as an actor. The recreational therapist at adolescent psychiatric hospitals, that was teaching theater and improvisation games to kids who were in temporary, hold. And it was as much of a lesson for me as it was a benefit for those kids. And it was a lot of stuff that I do, CASA, I made training videos and promotional videos for CASA in Fort Worth, Texas. A lot of what I do is because when I was a kid, I didn't have access to those resources, and I really could have used them.
Same.
Yeah. A lot of us, Generation X, especially latchkey kids, military kids, who I have some, extraordinary circumstances. I was in the Middle East in the 80s, in the middle of Beirut and Israel. I've seen at 10 years old, I've seen war that, kids in Palestine and Israel and in the Middle East are seeing currently. And, a lot of people I know haven't experienced that side of life here. And so all of that moving around, kind of adapting my personality for new environments became kind of the norm for me as a child. And so as a grown-up, really, I'm just reliving my childhood now. I'm playing, right now we're playing doctor, played space cowboy, and I've played real cowboys and Indians, and I've played army guy, and I'm just a kid just playing pretend.
Yeah. But so it looked like, just reading about your educational background, it looked like you were leaning towards teaching or some sort of religious role. I'm fascinated by it. That sounds very much like the kind of things that Becky and I are really interested in, like spirituality. And we're both Catholic. Becky's very active in our church. I guess deeper dive, at what point did you realize that rather than becoming a minister or going into teaching, that you wanted to go more towards the arts? Was it as in college?
It was after college and kind of in between. I started college late and then dropped out and then went back again and then still never finished college.
Same.
I was studying to be a music teacher, was really what was my dream. And that was because in my past, music teachers saved my life. literally and figuratively. Music teachers kind of helped me find the artists in myself that I wouldn't have necessarily been able to explore given the environment that I was raised in. Spiritually is a different story. I studied it enough to learn enough about it to make me realize that it was not for me.
Mm.
Okay.
No, I completely understand what you're saying. Like I say, we are both Catholic, and we are, but we are definitely not fundamentalist in any
No.
Yeah.
way, shape, or form.
This is often a struggle daily to hang on to faith and belief in something when so much around you is falling apart. It is a struggle.
Yeah, we'd get into a really deep dive if we started going on to those subjects.
We could be here for days. Yeah, it's funny. Before we move on to the next question, though, I do want to just make to your point about playing make believe forever. I think you mentioning that you had kind of a challenging background. I feel like I find a way to wedge this in every interview. I wanted to do theater. Like I never wanted to do movies or anything like that, but I wanted to do theater. And it got to a point very early on where I realized that I also wanted to have a family, and there's just no way as a young adult that you can really commit to creating a safe environment, because that was so important to me. It was not just having children, but bringing them into a sense of safety and security that I did not have. And you can't really do that and
Right.
commit to the arts. But I just want to say that we become chameleons, like the people that are really resilient, that live through experiences. A lot of us do become more comfortable being a character than we are
Yeah,
really being ourselves.
absolutely. I'm almost 55 and I'm still on a journey of self-discovery and figuring
Every
out who I
day.
I
actually
think that's
am.
how we stay young, man.
I hope so. I'm learning more, to focus on the positives in my life, which is, I've had a lot of positives in my life, but I've forgotten most of them. And I remember a lot of negatives. And I'm trying to learn now which ones to embrace and which ones to let go.
Yeah.
And that's been a new experience for me. It's taken years, but I see the change it's made every day. Something new will come up that I can see myself going, hey, 5 years ago, I would have reacted differently. And now I'm not. And, 5 years ago, I'd be having a panic attack when they said this, and now I'm not. And that's a big difference. So, yeah, change is necessary and sometimes scary.
Yeah.
I think that's the journey of our 50s, late 40s, early 50s. Like I wondered as I got to this point when middle age really started to sink in, that
Yeah.
I wondered what's the journey going to be, because like I've always said, I was much happier in my 40s than I was in my 20s. And as I've gotten older, like it really has, somebody living with chronic depression and anxiety my entire life, it's always a struggle, but it got easier as it went on. But 50 kind of kicked my butt. I just turned 50 in July, and it was the first time that I genuinely was very ambivalent about my
Yeah.
birthday at all. And I hated that. I wanted to feel joyful about it,
Right.
but you got to go through it. We're all on kind of like similar journeys of just accepting that, yeah, I mean, this is the back end,
Yeah.
but
That doesn't mean we can't enjoy it and
right.
still grow and still learn and
Yeah.
thrive.
But it takes work. And
Yeah.
as a younger person, we wouldn't have been capable of doing that work. And that is the blessing of continuing to have the privilege to get older.
Right. And as my 18-year-old daughter put it to me, she was probably 17 when she said this, as I was apologizing to her for probably saying something that I shouldn't have said or saying something too harshly. And she said, Dad, healing isn't linear.
Yeah.
You're going to come back to some spaces. I saw a great thing says it's more like a spiral. You're growing, but you're going to keep coming back to the same place, but you're going to be you're going to have a little bit more space for it every time.
What a smart girl. To know that at 18,
Yeah.
I didn't know
Yeah.
anything really till my 30s. So you're doing a great job with her.
Oh, I've got a wonderful wife.
You really do. We stalked your Instagram a bit. She's pretty hot. She's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's an attorney and she's a gourmet cook and she knows how to keep me humble. And so That's the
Yeah.
best thing to have when you're working in TV and film and playing really great shows. You need somebody to remind you to, you have to go pick up the dog's poop.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things have learned through marriage is humility. I didn't
Yeah,
have a lot of that prior to
yeah.
getting
As long as it
married.
works both ways,
It does, yeah, for
and
sure.
that's where that it has to work both ways. It can't just be, a one-sided deal. And we keep each other grounded.
Exactly. Keep each other honest, but in a loving way.
Yeah, she's way smarter than me, and I love it. I love being challenged.
I love to see a man that acknowledges that. That's wonderful.
It's hard to deny. She has a PhD. I have dropped out of college.
What is it Michael Scott always said? He went to the School of Hard
School of Hard
Knocks.
Knocks.
Yeah, that's a degree as good as any PhD, let me tell you.
Yeah, yeah. I figure one day maybe I'll get an honorary degree from a school of hard knocks or something at least.
You have the first ever honorary degree from the School
What's
of
on Tonight University.
University. We just
Right on.
started it, and you are our first graduate. So, congratulations.
Nice.
Well, our next question, one is we both want to say you have done a phenomenal job bringing Mr. Digby to life and instantly getting the audience to care so much, to laugh and care so much about that character. So can you just tell us a little bit about how you get yourself prepared for that role and what, if any, experiences in your background do you tap into to add so much humanity to that role? Because you sucked us in from the get-go and, beautiful work.
Okay, well, first they have an amazing makeup team, special effects makeup, hair and makeup team. And so depending on, how gross Digby is at any given scene, the makeup time was almost 2 hours to get ready for that.
Oof.
And a lot of times that 2 hours is a great time to just meditate. You can't move, you can't go anywhere. So you take that time to just really, relax into it. But when I look in the mirror, once they put Digby together, and I put on the wardrobe and I look in the mirror and I see that character, I can't help but have empathy for him. And that's a huge driver for me, is having some kind of empathy for the role you're playing. Digby's schizophrenic and bipolar. My mom was bipolar, and I saw a lot of, how that works growing up. I used a lot of my own personal experiences. And then more than anything, I don't show this in most of the roles I play. And I think Digby is more me than any other character I've ever played, in that he has this almost childlike nature. And that's, like I said, when I'm acting, I'm just playing. I'm in my childhood, just playing make-believe. And so Digby is kind of the embodiment of that. And it works so well for me.
There was a scene after you got cleaned up and you were talking with Dana's character, and you didn't have a whole lot of dialogue, but what you were doing with your face, Mandy and I, we discussed it quite a bit in the podcast for that episode, at how you emoted so much. It makes me want to cry. Like the fact that somebody was showing you that you are human, that you are worthy and deserving of the care that you need, and that, you mentioned being afraid of doctors for so long, but you did so much with your face. And then there was one moment where Dana asks you if you would like a sandwich, and you answered, and then you did this just little subtle shift with your face, and you were like, or please, or thank you, or something. And I don't really know where I'm going with this other than, man,
it was almost like he was remembering that he was a human being in that
and
moment.
You brought that so to the forefront with just
Very
subtle changes
choices
in your face, and that is talent.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I try and play. I mean, they give you so much great material to work with. We had such amazing directors and writers, and Catherine Lanassa is like a goddess when it comes to, acting, and the least I can do is try and, keep up. And I really appreciate it. That means a lot to hear from you guys because you never know how something's going to come across when you're shooting it and how the audience is going to read, especially when I'm doing a lot of acting with my face in this series, and hoping I'm not overdoing it, and hoping I'm keeping it grounded and keeping it realistic, and that's really in the environment that we're shooting, the way they have this whole thing set up, it's really easy to just fall into like really believing you are where you are and you are who you are. So thank you very much.
I volunteer occasionally with a shelter here in the Nashville area that is one of the only LGBTQIA affirming shelters in the area. And it's specifically for young adults. And it's literally a mile and a half from where I grew up. And one of the things that I have learned through this process and this experience is how these kids are basically, they're the kids that I grew up with. They're me and my sibling. I had a sibling who died tragically young, bad situations, and she, because of her addiction and mental illness, was often unhoused. And they just want somebody to talk to. Most of the time, you sit down and you talk to them, and if you offer them the same dignity of just not treating them like they are the conditions that they are struggling with, but just interesting human beings in and of themselves, it's so fun sometimes to just see their face light up at just something as simple as being able to have a human conversation with somebody that doesn't
Yeah.
center around what they're dealing with, that
Yeah.
specifically just their situation of being unhoused. And so I say all that to say that is what killed me about that scene, is that I've seen that light up in their eyes before when somebody that you're just
Yeah.
having a conversation, and the blessing of that like you talked about, us reminding ourselves of the things that, like, building that neurological power to
Right.
combat against the despair by reminding yourself of simple blessings. And that was a big learning experience for me, of how sometimes I think I have it so bad, and there's these kids that, man, this unsafety, the insecurity of just basic food and shelter. And something as simple as just having somebody ask them about their favorite TV show can completely change their day.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. Words can heal a lot better than they can harm if they're used right, I think.
Right. At least as effectively. And we need to all remember that. Our
Yeah.
words matter. Yeah.
Yeah.
You had posted on Instagram where you were talking about growing out your hair for this role. Was that something that you did prior to auditioning for the role, or once you got the role? Could you just tell us kind of, because I obviously that I think helped add to the look of your character, and
Yeah.
I think I'm assuming helped probably get you into character. So how did
Yeah.
that come about?
It was, serendipity. I played a series of different roles in movies and short films where they'd asked me to let my hair grow shaggy. And as it progressed, it just got shaggier and shaggier. And by the time I was done shooting all of these, my hair was getting pretty long. And at one point, I had decided, okay, I'm going to get my hair cut. I need to, go back to, something a little more manageable now that I'm not playing all these different, ragged kind of people. And I tried to make a hair appointment, but my stylist that I've been seeing for the last 15 years was on vacation for 3 weeks. And so I went, okay, I'll wait. And somewhere in that 3 weeks, I got a call for the audition for Digby. In the audition, they specifically wanted people with long hair and beards to have this look as if they haven't seen a haircut in over a year. And so I was like, well, I guess I'm going to leave it like this. And so I auditioned, when they called and said I got the part, they said, please don't trim your hair, don't cut your hair, don't anything, just, grow everything out. And so I just left it. And I think we started shooting end of May, beginning of June. And then all the way up until the holidays, I just had to let my hair stay as long as I stayed Digby long. And that's how it ended up.
Did it feel good when you finally got to cut it all off?
Yeah, it was pretty nice. It was pretty nice.
Probably shedding some heaviness, like psychological heaviness.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how even facial hair, I can trim it now, but when it starts getting really long, when it gets wet, it's like, wow, this is kind of heavy. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. It's
Yeah.
interesting. And also it was so long, it was like getting into my mouth all the time. And I was
Stuff you're
just like,
leaving crumbs in there.
You got leftovers for later tucked away in there.
yeah. I'd say in front of my kids, I called it my flavor saver. And they would be
Yeah.
like, oh, oh, no, oh.
It's such a dad thing to say. Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm sure your wife was incredibly excited when you were able to get to the barber and get all of that trimmed up.
Yes, she was.
So the pit's known for its high stakes real time atmosphere, which has been, as we've learned, painstakingly crafted by the showrunners. What's it been like being part of this project, and how does it compare to other shows that you've worked on?
Okay, well, this show is up in like the top two of my top five favorite jobs I've ever had, and part of it is because of the way it's shot. It's shot completely in order. We shoot the beginning at the beginning and the end at the end, with some exceptions. I have to admit, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to say, so I won't say much. But there are some exceptions where they had to shoot some stuff early because of where it was being shot. Otherwise, it was shot sequentially, which is very rare in TV. A lot of times you come on stage, you die first, and then you're born at the end, And this one is like you show up. My first day on set was the first time you see me. And, that was really neat because you don't have to try and keep track of where was I emotionally at this time. And
Yeah, as an actor, I would think that that would really be,
Helpful.
yeah.
yeah. And again, there are exceptions, but I'm not going to talk about them.
That's okay. Yeah, we don't want to get anybody in trouble for spoilers.
Yeah. The way the hospital set is built, when you walk in, you don't feel like you're on a TV set. You feel like you're in a hospital. It is a fully functioning looking hospital. All the lights are built into the set so that you don't have a bunch of stands and flags and all the other movie kind of
Oh, wow.
equipment hanging around. You just have two guys with cameras, a couple of monitors that are on wheels that move around the corner. So a lot of times when you're shooting, everybody in the crew wears scrubs. And so you don't see a lot of people standing around in civilian clothing unless they're visitors of the hospital.
Even camera crew, everybody is
Yeah.
wearing scrubs.
That's awesome. We did
No
not
one
know
has
that.
mentioned that.
I'm sorry you haven't heard about this. It's a really cool idea they had because of the way we shoot really fast. It's all handheld, steady cam kind of footage. They can just do a complete 360 around the room, and you won't recognize that maybe somebody who's standing there in scrubs is actually an assistant director who's looking at a computer screen that looks like the iPads that all the rest of the nurses are using, but it's actually the monitor of the camera that they're using. The boom operator is wearing scrubs. I mean, everybody, they blend.
That's such an immersive
Cool.
experience, I gotta think.
Yeah.
Exactly. So not only, they do a lot for safety of, in case we get a reflection of one of the crew members, it's not a crew member standing there in crew member gear. It looks like a hospital technician. But for the actors, it gives us freedom of imagination. You don't feel like you're being stared at judged by a bunch of Teamsters. You're interacting with people. And that's like, all I have to do is convince everybody in the room that I am who I am and not worry about, finding my mark. And there are no marks, as you would have in regular TV shows where they would put a little X down and you walk up to here. Luckily, my character stayed in bed most of the time, so that didn't really affect me. We aren't allowed to have sides on the set. And so there's no scripts lying around. Everybody, you have to come prepared or sink and swim, sink or swim kind of situation. Everybody in the cast is amazing. They've got like the best actors that you could get. And they also, because work in Hollywood is a little slow right now, they had their pick of the cream of the crop when it comes to crew members. And so we had like the absolute best crew, some of the best talent. It was a dream job, and I didn't have to fly anywhere and leave my family to go do it. In fact, there are a lot of days I could take my kids to school, then go to work, and then pick up my kids from school and bring them home. That's a rare thing to be able to do as an actor. And so, yeah, one of my favorite jobs.
Well, that leads into my follow-up on that, because we absolutely cannot not talk about Skinny Pete. I didn't watch Breaking Bad, but I think I am literally one of 7
The only
people.
one.
Yeah, maybe the only one. My husband was a massive fan. Our friend Kitty, who runs one of the largest Pitt fan pages on Facebook, confessed that she has had a massive crush on you
Oh,
since that time. I told her we would bring it up, did because she wasn't sure. She was like, he's got to be married. And then, of course, we found out you do have an amazing wife. So
yes.
she's not shooting her shot, but she definitely wanted you to
Oh,
know.
I'm flattered.
I don't know how much of a social media presence you have on Facebook, but she's dedicated several posts to
Oh,
you.
so sweet.
My husband was super excited because he is a really, really big fan of The Blacklist.
Oh, yeah.
I am a massive James Spader fan and Bryan Cranston. So I want to know, like, what was it like working with those two guys? Not to make it all about those past experiences, but what are your experiences working with two of the most fascinating people in show business?
It was awesome. I mean, I don't know how to like,
That's a huge question.
yeah, in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm a big fan of both of them too. I was before I even started working on TV. And like, I just, when I'm around them, I don't want to like completely gig out and just, Brian was so personal and so just down to earth. It didn't take long to really just kind of get used to him. James Spader is a lot more quiet and reserved and kept more to himself, but he was, I mean, for me, he taught me things. I'm playing a guy, I went from Skinny Pete to Gray, a guy who's wearing a three-piece suit, and he would help me fix my costume and show me, hey, your pockets sticking out. And he was very professional and just they were both great to work with. I mean, at one point I was in scenes with both of those guys the same year that they were both going for the best actor Emmy, one for Breaking Bad and one for Blacklist. And it's like I got to work with both of these guys in the shows that they're just nominated for. That was pretty amazing to me.
Yeah.
That's huge. Not many people can say that at all.
Yeah, it was crazy, and that was a part of that time where I still hadn't learned how to focus on the good as much. And so, how much do I remember? I don't know. Because, you're in those moments where you're standing next to the guy from Stargate. That's my wife's favorite movie, by the way.
Really?
Yeah, it was one of her favorite movies. That's up there, like Fifth Element, Stargate. I could go on, but that was one of her favorite movies, and I'm guessing it's because of James Spader. But yeah, I watched it a lot, and I've always been a fan of his.
I think your wife is probably in our wheelhouse as far as the age goes. And like
Yeah,
almost all girls who grew up through the 80s and early 90s had a massive crush on James Spader at some point.
Oh, yeah.
it's inevitable. I don't blame them.
I really don't want to meet a whole lot of celebrities because I love doing what we do with these interviews, and part of me is kind of glad. Like we've talked to a couple of people who are fairly high up on the call sheet, and they've been wonderful and lovely, but I don't really just have like real burning desire to talk to people who have been massively famous.
No, Wiley,
Yeah.
we want to talk to my boy. You talk about crushes. I got one and have since the 1990s.
Yes,
Yeah.
we joke all the time, and it's only kind of haha that Becky might be on a Noah Wiley watch list
Some
somewhere, but
restraining order out there somewhere. No, I'm kidding.
yeah.
I'm totally kidding.
It's not that we don't want to talk to anybody that we would get lucky enough to talk to. I guess I'm just saying that I just have this expectation that most people who have been massively famous for a long time, I'm not necessarily going to have a lot to say to them. So James Spader, I just always felt like he would really be Robert California in some ways in real life, who I love as a character, but I don't know what I would say to in real life. Bryan Cranston seems like somebody I genuinely could sit down and immediately start having a conversation with. Do you know he's doing a Malcolm in the Middle a remake?
Yeah.
I love that.
Brian's the guy who'd strike up the conversation before you had a chance to make it awkward.
Yeah. And I would.
Yeah, I really think James Spader is shy.
Yeah. He's just more withdrawn. Yeah.
And so let him have his space.
For sure.
And I knew an artist who had done a incredible pencil portrait of Mr. Spader, and he sent it to me and asked me if I would take it to James Spader, and I was like, "Oh, okay." The guy is incredible. Yeah, his name is Dr. Pencil,
Mhm.
and so I took a portrait of here. Um, this is that's his sketch
That
of
is
Skinny
all
Pete.
pencil?
Oh my, that is all pencil.
Yeah,
Y'all,
Guys, you
he's
can't
yeah,
see
showing
it.
us a photo that this gentleman did of Skinny Pete. And that is phenomenal. Oh, I need to get his information.
yeah. He does photorealistic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a black and white photo.
So he asked me if I would take one to James. And so I, like, as meekly as I could, took it to James Spader and I said, would you mind like letting me take a picture of you with this to send it to my friend to show that he got it? And James was like, it depends on what the picture looks like. He was
Ah, I love it.
like,
Classic
that
James.
makes sense.
That's
I said, like,
genuine.
and he's like, are you sure I would want to? And I'm like, I promise you would. And he did. And Rick Fortson is the name of the artist. He goes by Dr. Pencil. He got to use that shot for his, on his Instagram and social media.
That's great. That's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So this is Mandy's favorite part of your being on the pit, and that's the scene where Mr. Digby has his cast removed. And we read that real maggots were used in this scene. And I'm just wondering, what was that like? And did you need to mentally prepare for it? Because I'm assuming you didn't just show up on set that they'd be like, by the way, here's the guy what did the animal
maggot wrangler.
guy, the maggot wrangler. And so
Yeah.
what was that like? Was it freaky or you're just like, okay, I'm cool, let's do it?
Like I said, I've had an interesting life. I wasn't thrilled with the idea, but here's the process. When I auditioned, I had to agree to 3 stipulations that were all separate. Like I had to sign and signature these 3 different things. The first one was to do the shower scene, where Nurse Dana and poor Nurse Emma have to shower me off in the first episode. The second one was, are you okay with having maggots on your arm? And then I can't disclose the third one. So I knew it was coming well in advance. The neat thing about it is, like, my character's arm had a bunch of really bad cuts on them that were infected underneath that cast. I didn't have actual cuts on my arm. So the maggots were really on a prosthetic piece. I mean, it was a latex piece covering my arm to make it look like it had been in a cast for, a long time. It had that wrinkly, dead skin look with the big gashes in it. And then there was some fake blood that had a little bit of corn syrup mixed into it, which turns out was like something the maggots were just like, goody, let's go. And that's they were digging into that. So I was prepared for it, and they really didn't touch my skin. I just had to look at them, and well, you see my face when I look at them on this show. That's my reaction looking at them.
Well, that was another really excellent moment of just face acting for you. Like, I was trying to put myself in Mr. Digby's shoes. Like, I have very, very bad anxiety. And one of my anxieties came from when I was a kid having a really bad dentist and several bad experiences. So I was like, when I got older and mom wasn't making me go to the dentist, I wasn't going. And so had ended up with a lot of issues. And I remember finally realizing how important mouth health is to heart health and all of those things. As you age, you realize you got to take better care of yourself. So I remember walking into the dentist and sitting in the chair crying because I was so embarrassed. And I felt you conveying that so well in that moment. Just, there's a lot of great actors on this show. And like Mandy said, there's people that are, whatever they consider top of the call sheet or whatever. But it's these smaller parts that grow into, because of the actor behind them, the writing. And it's not, writing can be good writing, but the wrong person can kill it.
Yeah.
But you're not doing that. And you really, like the episodes where we haven't seen you, we're like, where is he? What's going on? We want to know and that is a testament to you and how well you've done, but just the way you conveyed that almost embarrassment, like awe and sadness all at the same time. It was just, I'm clapping for you right now. That was just well done.
I'm clapping for you because I have this very deep visceral hatred of maggots. Like I have a really high threshold for gross. Like when I was a kid, I used to put slugs in my mouth to gross my sister out. Didn't
Yeah,
bother me,
That explains a lot.
doesn't it? Well,
yeah.
about that, no, never mind. I'm not gonna make that joke. But maggots, I absolutely can't. They just this. Thinking about the existence of them makes me want to go set my trash can on fire. So the fact that you
I
were able to
understand.
sit there and do that, like, man, you were a better man than I in every way.
I had a great theater education. After I quit college, the theater in which I met my wife, because she's also an actor.
Yeah,
We met on stage at an outdoor theater in Fort Worth, Texas, called the Hip Pocket Theater. It's an amazing space, great for summer stock kind of stuff. They do a lot of puppetry now. But we met doing summer stock theater there, and our director at the time, who was also the writer and the creator of the show, he used to teach at Duke University, and then he came and he started doing theater in Fort Worth. And long story. Anyway, so I learned a lot from Johnny Simons. One of the best lessons I ever learned from Johnny Simons was, so you wanted to be a fucking actor, huh?
like this is the glamour.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So you wanted to be a fucking actor. Like, and that's the challenge of being an actor. I mean, there's one thing memorizing words and finding your mark and looking pretty while you cry or whatever it is that you do. But I mean, to be able to endure stuff. I have never in my life wanted to do a nude scene on a television show in front of like with 20 million people. Not my thing. I didn't want to do maggots. I've done other shows. I've done, stuff as bad, if not worse. And sometimes it's really cool looking, and sometimes it's really, neat because I got to do it with this famous person. But there's a psychological aspect to acting that a lot of people don't really take into account. And a lot of it is, what can you endure? What can you put up with? How many? Sure, you can run. I just need you to run just across the street, but we're going to do it 40 times. Um, so you wanted to be a fucking actor.
and you have to make it look interesting and different. All 40 of those times
Yeah.
that you were
Yeah.
just running across the
Yeah.
street. It's a craft. They call it a craft for a reason. It's not all sunshine and rainbows.
It is not. But one of the things I loved about being on the pit was a lot of time my character was just lying in bed. And so I spent a lot of time just getting a lot of rest.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Well, know that while laying in bed, you did some really great work.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's just been such a blessing to be able to get to do this. I watched ER when I was still a short order breakfast cook at Denny's. So going from watching him on TV to being with him on TV in my lifetime is just,
It's a mind trip. Yeah.
it is. It really is.
Well, so speaking of people that you worked with, you got to work really closely with Catherine Lanasa, which we've become massive fans. So what was it like working with her? And were there any other cast members that you spent a lot of time with that became noteworthy?
Catherine is just amazing. I mean, she's a ball of fire. She and I had in common the fact that we both danced ballet. She is way higher skilled than I am.
Amazing.
But she's an amazing ballet dancer, and she likes to show off in between takes,
I've
and
seen that.
and keep in shape, and just keep herself awake. And she's got a great sense of humor. She's warm, friendly. She's amazing resume. Like I say, I just try not to bring her down. That's like my only goal is don't let her down. Just do your best and try and keep up. And she's just so generous and so kind and like reassuring. Yeah, it's just been a blast to work with. Leticia,
Emma,
Nurse Emma, she just graduated from Juilliard.
this is her first major on screen role,
Yeah.
I read.
We love her.
She's killing it. I mean, just from day one, like she just walked on and just started doing her thing. And everybody on that cast, really, I mean, we spent every day if not doing scenes together, we'd at least be eating lunch together. And so, like, I mean, I've gotten closer to a lot of them, not long term, but just as a working relationship than I usually get when I work on a show. A lot of times, I'm only on a show for a day or two, and then I'm gone. And this one, it just I got to spend a lot of extra time hanging out with everybody and kind of getting to know them. And they already knew each other, so letting them get to know me it was just a great ride.
Did you happen to spend any time with Alexandra Metz, who plays Dr. Garcia? We love her.
Love Alexandra
Yeah,
Metz.
they're all really amazing. And that's part of what makes the show so great. And like when you get the audition for to be on the pit, it comes with a letter from Noah. It's saying, hey, it's going to be an ensemble. It's kind of the no assholes clause.
Yeah, we've heard about that letter.
And like you see that, like I said, I met my wife doing ensemble theater. Doing that kind of work just like, oh, made me giddy. And that's why everyone's there, is because they're not only really good at it, but everybody leaves their egos at the door if you have one. And that's such a huge difference. That just, we all sit at lunch and these big, huge community tables and just chat and learn and talk. So yeah, I was sad that the season had to end. I'm like, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going.
Oh, that's a great job. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've not had one person tell us really anything negative about their experience on the show. I mean, which again, I know that's part of what you do as an actor is talk about your project positively, but we keep hearing the same things.
It's genuine.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is genuine. I'm not a PR kind of guy. I'm not a play the game kind of guy. If something sucks, I'll go, man, it didn't. This kind of sucked.
Yeah, like the maggots. Yeah.
Yeah, there are some aspects of every job that are a little bit hard and
Right.
can be uncomfortable. But the people on the set, Breaking Bad was the same way. And like look at the shows that are really successful, that comes from a place of joy. Can't have something really hit that hard unless it's a labor of love from everybody involved.
Yeah.
And the old adage, shit rolls downhill between, R. Scott Gemmell, Noah, Dr. Sachs, all of the people at the top, from executive producers to writers and main casts on down, everybody treats everybody the same. And the bar is set at kindness. And, that's all you have to do is just be kind and you're cool.
It's amazing what a difference that can make, especially I imagine in a creative environment.
Yeah. In order to be really good at what I do, I have to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
I have to allow myself to be completely naked on screen. That's as vulnerable as you can get. And you can't do that well if you feel unsafe.
Mm.
And you can't emotional. Like you see all the different characters, all the different patients that come in there with such strong emotions. It's hard to feel those strong emotions in front of people you feel unsafe with. And acting, when they say action, that is one big huge game of fall back and have a bunch of people catch you kind of event. You're in somebody's hands and you just have to just trust that they're going to be there to catch you, and then you also have to be the one who is going to be there to catch them. And you can't do that in a toxic environment, not sustained.
It can't be sustained, like you said. And it's funny that I'm glad you said that, because I was thinking earlier when you were talking about how you were just trying not to make Catherine Lanasa look bad. I 100% believe that if we ever did speak with her, she would say she absolutely felt privileged that you were a wonderful scene partner, because you can't fake that. I think that if you have a more stylized, more melodramatic type of show, you could perhaps like squeeze out something okay. I absolutely believe you can't have this kind of vulnerable realism and get the performances that you do from, what would be, I don't want to say minor characters, because that's recurring characters, but not necessarily people who are a main part of the show. Just people that might be on for 2 or 3 episodes. They may only have 4 or 5 lines, but it's so realistic, and it can only come from that kind of buy-in where you really not just you are being paid to do this, but you feel empowered to do this.
I mean,
Yeah.
Mandy and I talk a lot when we are covering the episodes, how some of our favorite characters have been people that aren't part of the main
Yeah.
cast. You know, last season, there was a lady that didn't speak any English. And there was one scene, I mean, she did great in all of her scenes, but there was one scene where she was watching, I think it was Santos and Garcia argue with each other. She didn't say a word, but the way the look on her face as this whole thing is interacting, I remember her more than I
Hmm.
remember some of what the main cast did. And I truly believe that Mr. Digby, I hope, I don't know how your story is going to play out. I know you can't tell us. I genuinely hope you get a blessed and very happy ending. But you are going to be one of those characters that we will talk about for the
For
existence of
seasons
this
to come.
show
Yeah.
for seasons to
Oh,
come because of how well you've portrayed this character. And I think that speaks to from the top down. You know, people laugh at us that we keep talking about how we want somebody from craft services on. We want
mm,
to talk to a prop person. We were grateful to get interviews with both Gavin Brivik and Brian Parker, who do the composing and the sound. And it's like, yeah, like Mandy said, yes, it would be phenomenal to get a chance to talk to a Noah or a Catherine or something like that. But what we have enjoyed the most is these other interviews with, and again, I don't want to say smaller actors because you're not. You're freaking top tier in our book. You're
team.
amazing. But it just highlights how well and how cohesive it is, and the kind of environment that they've set, that every single person on this show is important. And that includes the people who make these amazing lunches and dinners that you guys get to eat. And I'm like, that's who we
Yeah.
want to talk to. We want to hear see the nuts and bolts as it's being put together. So I'm rambling,
Oh,
but wow,
it's
I
all
just
right.
love the
It's all right.
show and everything that you guys have done with it so much.
Thank you so much. I love being in it. You're going to see a lot more Digby.
Yes, that's what we want to hear.
Yeah, he's like I say, one of the top two of my favorite five things I've ever done.
You know, one of our favorite things about this show is how they have chosen to take real world issues, unhoused people, healthcare, police brutality, mass shootings, all of it. They take all of that and they choose to highlight it, and I think that in current times is more important than ever. So playing the character that you're playing, what do you hope viewers take away from Mr. Digby's story?
Ooh. Um, James Vanderbeek recently passed, and I saw a video of him talking about knowing who he is and how he used to identify as an actor. And I'm not going to do his whole, the whole thing that he talked about how he used to identify himself as an actor. And then when he became a husband and then a father, and that for a long time, that defined him. And then when he got sick, he ended up, somewhat isolated for a while, and he kind of lost sight of who he is. And then he said he realized that what he is worthy of love
Mm.
as much as we need to be. He said that he is worthy of God's love. But if you don't have that in your life, then just know that you're worthy of love as a human being. Just because you exist, you are worthy of love. And that's a great way to explain what I want people to take from seeing Digby's story. Whoever you are, you're worthy of love because you exist.
That's beautiful. I'm sorry.
Becky's mom, like we've mentioned, she's at the final stages of terminal cancer, and
Yes, I'm so
Ooh,
sorry.
okay, thank
it's a
you.
real emotional time
That was
for her.
beautiful. That was very beautiful. And Mr. Digby is very worthy of love. And
Yes.
we love Mr. Digby.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
Well, we're towards the end here. This has been an amazing talk. We're so happy and grateful that you've given us your time here.
Absolutely.
Where can listeners find you? And are there any causes or pages or new projects or anything else that you want to tell us about?
Oh gosh, I'm old and tired, so I'm on Instagram.
So are we.
I'm Facebook. I can't even get into Instagram because it's too newfangled.
I don't do well on Instagram, but
You do. Well, I love following you. I think you do a great
well,
job.
thank you very much. I'm just, I'm still going. What all the changes I made, I just go old school still. Yeah. So Instagram, the Charles Baker, is my Instagram handle, and I love following artists of all sorts, painters, writers. If you have art on Instagram and it's genuine art, not that crap slop generated
AI.
stuff. Yeah, hit me up. Let me see what you do. And I guess who to support local artists, and Instagram artists are now part of your community too. So yeah, support your local artists, musicians, writers, poets. We need they're the guys that really pull that band-aid off and show the world what's going on and change minds and open hearts. They're the ones that really kind of pull the veil back. And just like in the pit, the reason all those subjects are so relevant is because they're literally getting them from real places, and they're asking what's going on, and these are the answers that they're getting. And so hopefully we learn from that and we grow from that. Every little bit helps.
Yeah, we've delved into in the last year and a half, especially just dealing with the massive changes that have happened so rapidly and trying not to dive into despair. Like this podcast has been a lifesaver for Becky and I. And I have another podcast that I do about women from history. And that was our response, was to just go back to making art, which isn't
Yeah.
something that either one of us has done since we were in our 20s, at the maybe not even teens. And
Yeah. Yeah.
it's been really a good reminder, even with our little portion here, that the arts are what show people what it means to be human. And
Yeah.
I love that that's what you choose to emphasize. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I'm
Just
going
as
to
a
send
as a
you
fan.
some pictures of my watercolors.
Okay. Then love
I
it.
do watercolor. So I'm going to.
That's
She's
awesome.
very and never picked it up in her life until the last couple of years. I'm blown away
Wow.
by how talented that she is.
Well,
Nice.
thank you.
Nice. That's great. And also, I would say, if people don't know what CASA is, the Court Appointed Special Advocates, there's probably one in your state, wherever you are, if you're in the
Mhm.
United States. If kids don't have representation when, in custody battles and um, all kinds of different cases. Kids aren't able to speak up in court for themselves. A lot of times it'll be the state against the parents, deciding, what's going to happen, where this kid's going to go, and the kid doesn't get to have any, like custody disputes between parents. They'll have lawyers against lawyers, but the kid doesn't have someone to speak for them and is not allowed to speak for themselves. So court-appointed special advocates are the ones who go into the court, they talk to the kid and find out their wishes, and they're able to actually speak for the child in a courtroom. And you can be a volunteer. You don't have any special training. They really need more people of color in the industry, helping as advocates, speaking up for kids. Is honestly, well-meaning white women, we love you, but you can't do all the lifting, and you can't necessarily
We are
understand
not
where
always the
you're
best
at.
experts for, yeah. If the recent past has shown us everything, is that white women are not always the answer to the question.
No one group is.
You're right, absolutely.
It takes a community. So yeah, CASA is a great organization to support if you're looking for a way to volunteer your time to help kids. Man, those kids could use it. So yeah, those are the things I would. And watch the pit. Keep watching the pit
Heck yeah.
all the way to every week.
Becky, we can add a link to CASA's website in the show notes,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah. I'll make sure to post links to your social media and CASA linked in our show notes. It's just a really easy way for listeners to just click and see everything that you're talking about.
Right on. Sorry for rambling.
This has been amazing.
Ramble is our middle name,
Oh,
and
right on.
I've really enjoyed this. You have been a joy to talk to, and a lot of what you said really has resonated with me, and stuff that I'm gonna take with me because I've got a journey ahead. And a lot of what you said was really impactful and beautiful, and I really appreciate that. Everybody loves hearing about the show and everything else, but I just feel like we went deeper, and that's a blessing, and I need that right now. So thank you.
Anything I can do to help. I hope it's as soft a journey as it can be.
Thank you.
Well, that wraps up our interview with the super cool Charles Baker. Next up, we are going to continue our coverage of season 2 of The Pitt.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I'm Becky.
And I'm Mandy.
And I'm Charles Baker.
We'll catch you next week when we grab the remote and see what's on tonight. Bye.